All right, guys, we are back. Fitness Profit Multiplier, Anthony and Jimmy here. And today we have a jam-packed episode. We're going to be talking about the biggest marketing tool in your fitness business. And no, it's not Facebook. It's something else that's really, really important for fitness business owners and gym owners. And this is one of my biggest poles, going back to my fishing analogy here. The biggest poles in the water for me, and that is your website. So we got on here Sam from Odin's 3, and he's going to be helping us and talking about why websites are so important for a fitness business owner. But Jimmy, what's up, man? How's your website doing? I mean, I know you have your OnlyFans page, but that's a whole different podcast that we'll talk about at another time.
Yeah, that's the private one. You got to pay to get into that one. This is all free information. So, I have really big feet. So the feet pics, like it takes a lot of, there's a lot of, you got to upgrade your download speed for those.
So hold on, actually off topic here. There's actually a site for this. They popped up on a YouTube, like on ways to make money. It's like Feet Finder. So women upload their feet and in different pictures and they could make a ton of money. I think I'm going to go on Feet Finder.
Might have to shave your toes first.
That's okay, man. They'll be shaved down. They'll be nice and clean.
It's fetish for everything. Hobbit feet's fine.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's weird. But there's a guy on social media, on Instagram, I forget his name, but he goes around like asking people what they do. And he asked some girl, he's like, what do you do? Because she had like a crazy car. And she's like, I upload my feet on Feet Finder. I'm like, is this a real thing?
Apparently.
But yeah, man, my toes, man. These bad boys right here, they're going right on Feet Finder.
You can only show it with socks on this YouTube channel. You can't show it.
Exactly.
That would get blurred
out.
Gotta
pay. You gotta pay, exactly. So Jimmy, let's kind of give him a background. I mean, for me, my website, I wish I would have pulled up the numbers before this, but I get a good amount of leads from my website every month. I probably say I get a good like 12 to 15 leads per month just from my website alone. What about you? What's the boring numbers say about it?
Yeah, it's pretty similar for us. That those leads are high quality, they're going to convert much more easily, but for your website to actually convert, there's got to be some detail and some direction with that. So it can't just be fly by night, throw up some page that isn't mobile optimized and doesn't, function very well. So my website is actually, managed by Sam. Sam manages my website and has rebuilt it a couple times and helped me optimize that and give me some cool tips and tricks and all the tech side of everything that is a little bit beyond most gym owners' capacity. You need somebody in your corner that can kind of help you with certain things on that side. So yeah, but website, I mean, you guys can get a ton of leads from Facebook, but they're not going to convert as easily as your website leads because these are inbound people that are coming in and raising their hand saying, hey, I want your thing. But your website has to look nice. It has to load well. There's a lot of things that can optimize your website, but I don't need to speak too far on that because we got an expert here on the call with us. So, Anthony, if you don't have anything else, I'd love to just kind of shoot it over to Sam and ask him a couple of questions in regards to what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, I guess the question here is if someone listening to this, they have a website, what are the big red flags that they should be looking out for in order to optimize their website and get more leads?
Yeah, probably the number one right now is speed for your website. Being on a hosting platform that is on Google Cloud, not something like a VPS system through GoDaddy, Bluehost, HostGator, or something like that. Number one's going to be speed, because when a user, let's say you're running an ad or you're running a Facebook campaign and they come to your website and you're not using a ClickFunnels, speed is extremely important. You need to have a load time under 2 seconds, or you start dropping off percentages, maybe 20, 30% per extra second your website takes to load. And then I'd probably say number two is people really focus on making their website look pretty and function poorly. So people will put in animations on their homepage for things to slide in from the left, the right, up, down, fade in. It's really unnecessary. Unless you're Apple building a website with animations and you got billions of dollars, don't do it. It's not functional. People don't care anymore. And then the mobile first approach. So if your website is clean and readable on mobile, you're going to convert much easier, far more people than a website on mobile that's crowded or just basically built for desktop.
That's a great point. Actually, I like that last one a lot. Actually, the mobile first. A lot of people forget that most of these built, the website building softwares, they focus on the desktop look, and then when they go to mobile, they look like crap. So that's a really good point, because most people are searching for things on their phone.
Yeah, and people, a lot of these website builders allow you to essentially build a second website for your a mobile version of your website. And Google recently did something where if your desktop version is too far off from your mobile version, they'll take your mobile version only. Google's taken a huge mobile approach based on speed and content recently. So if you're not taking a mobile first approach with, nearly 70% of your website traffic as mobile, it's going to hurt you.
That's cool, man. It's really good to know. So now I'm listening to this right now, and I'm like, okay, I have no idea what my website speed is, like what that even means. So for someone listening to this right now, is there a way they could check like the speed? How do they someone go about like finding out that information?
Yeah, so in the past, it was tools like GT Metrics, and that would measure your website speed, but that's pretty much only desktop. And it gives you kind of an inflated sense of how fast your website is. If you really want to hurt your ego, especially as a website developer, you use something called Page Speed Insights from Google. It's a Google tool that uses Lighthouse, and it measures your website load times essentially in a real world scenario where mobile has a capped internet speed. So it's basically like a fast 4G load of your website. And it's what people would experience, say, if they were driving down the road and just about to go to your gym and they wanted to say gym's near me, go into Google, click, go to your website. That's the load time that you'd expect from something like Page Speed Insights. And it's very accurate.
Got it. Very cool. So Jimmy, I want to flash this back to you, man. So I don't know what you were doing before, but what prompted you to hire someone out to do your website? Kind of give us a little bit of a background. How many leads you were getting before? What are you getting now? I'm just curious why you made the switch.
Well, the big thing was one of the problems with like what is it called? I don't even remember what it's called now. Like a Squarespace or Wix or something like that a lot of guys build their websites on, is there's a lot of these canned templates that you can't really make your website look the way you want it to. You kind of have to work within these templates and kind of stack this stuff together. And the problem is, and this is one thing that I understood through talking to Sam more, because him and I were actually acquaintances, buddies before we kind of got into business together, and I hired him. But one of the problems that you find with these sites, and he can speak to it a little bit more intelligently than I, it comes down to some of the load speed. It comes down to the SEO optimization. It's just not as good on these like pre-built like builder sites. And I was looking into SEO and like, okay, doing some research on SEO. There's a guy online, Neil Patel. Sam likes that guy, so I'm okay with dropping him. If you want to look at his site, he's got a lot of good blogs and things like that on SEO, more e-commerce stuff, but still applies to our business. So was, watching some of this Neil Patel guy's stuff, and I was like, my website is like not optimized for SEO. And I was just looking for more ways to generate more leads, right? And get my website to the top of the page and all this kind of stuff, because it wasn't quite at the top of the first page in Google. Like, what is wrong with this? What do I need to do to change this? And so then started talking to Sam, and he's like, well, load speed is like one of the key factors to making your website optimized, right? And I'm like, well, what's the load speed look like on this stuff? And what's the SEO look like on Squarespace or this or that? Or you can't host it on that. You got to host it somewhere else. Hosted it somewhere else. And, he makes those changes. And I noticed that I had an uptick in total leads. So it was like before this happened, and there are multiple factors, right? I've been in the town longer, this and that. But you want to make sure that you're not leaving those things up to chance with your website. And I was with these other builders. So Biggest reason was I wanted to optimize it. I wanted that hole in the water to be stronger because I knew I was getting good leads from that poll. And how do we make that poll stronger? Well, you optimize these things for SEO, you optimize these things to get people to look at your site. And my leads from my website went from about 8 a month to 15 or so, right? So, and this was over a couple of months' time. This was like 3 to 6 months after we really kind of revamped it. And then we revamped it again because I just didn't like the way it looked. So it looks a little cleaner, looks a little nicer now, drives people to the forms that I want them to fill out to get in contact with us. We made it a little more user-friendly in that it directs them to get in contact with us. We have some pop-ups and some other things. But yeah, and it's just stuff that I couldn't do on my own and I couldn't do through the builders that are available to you at a cheap cost, right, out there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the major things too with your website is like, you know, most of the clients that come to us, especially for us in our gym, it's person over age 35. So when someone wants a personal trainer, what's the first thing they do? They go to Google and they type in personal trainer near me, personal training, you know, whatever. That's how they find us, right? That's majority of the way they're going to find us. And that's why website leads are higher intent leads, meaning that they're more than likely going to buy because they're looking for it. You know, it's almost like if someone's looking for a plumber, they're not going to go on Facebook and look for a plumber. They're going to go to Google. So you have to have a good Google presence. And this is like, I guess my next question to Sam, you know, back in the day, one of the major things was your website needed to have a blog and you needed to be able to have a blog on there for SEO and all this other stuff. Are blogs still relevant today? And for the gym owner listening to this, should they have like a blog that they post out stuff on to rank higher in Google? How does that kind of work now? And give us the lowdown.
Yeah, so back in the day, blogs were everything. You could write pretty much a blog about anything, and you'd find some traffic coming to your website. Now it's much harder. Everything, you know, there's so many more people online with a blog. One thing I would say is a blog builds your domain rank and authority much faster than any other content on your website. So there's a reason why pretty much every major company has a blog. If you look at Moz, they're one of the authorities in SEO. They write even about their competitors and they're linking links to their competitors. And you can do that as a gym as well. It's not to sell anyone. And I think this is what people confuse usually. It's not really to sell anyone on a product in your blog page or, you know, some fancy thing you're doing. It's really to build the domain rank and authority so that your page just ranks higher in Google based on the keywords that you want to rank for. And just going back for a second to using something like Shopify or Squarespace, there's a reason why Gymshark, and they use Shopify, doesn't host their blog content on Shopify. It's just not as well built of a platform for blogging and for building rank. And so they use a separate platform. And if you have the money to do that, yes, it's great to be on you know, a platform if you have hundreds of millions of dollars to put toward development. But if you don't have that kind of cash, having a blog on something like WordPress is optimal.
So WordPress seems to be the king as far as like building out your website then.
Absolutely. A lot of people do it wrong. And even, you know, over the years, we've been learning as well that speed pretty much is king over everything, even appearance, look, feel, all of it. And we're starting to rebuild the way we build websites on a faster theme, a customized theme, and not using something from the store where you buy a prepackaged theme and slap it in there. It's never optimized. People just they want it to look good to sell the theme, and they never actually optimize it.
So Sam, when we're talking about blogs, we can go back for a second. What are some tips that you can give a gym owner right now in regards to, because a gym owner is not necessarily going to understand how to increase the speed of their website, right? I mean, maybe there's some tips you can give them to increase the speed, like getting rid of all the fancy stuff on the front page or what have you, right? Simplify it a little more. But what are the big tips on blogs? Like what are the marching orders when they're writing blogs? What should they be doing? What should they be using to make sure that those blogs are optimized? How long should they be, you know?
Yeah, so Google recently put out a sneaky update. It was called the helpful content update. And people used to write blogs where, it's like 50% human readable, but they're just jamming keywords in there, long tail keywords to try and rank into Google. Now Google is essentially battling against that tactic, that SEO tactic, and saying that we're going to rank articles higher that offer helpful content. And what that means is when you get to the end of your blog, is there some sort of executable or action that the user takes after they read your blog to show that it was helpful? So, Jimmy, I think one of your top ranking blog posts is 7 different types of gyms.
Mhm.
And you build a lot of authority just from that one article. To optimize something like that, let's say as a gym owner, you'd write the 7 different types of gyms. You would hyperlink each of those different types. And at the end, you would either have a bulleted list or some, let's find out more information, or find this type of gym near me, like to Google Maps, anything like that, to add an actionable event for the user reading your blog to do at the end of reading it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that blog is funny because it was one of those, I didn't expect it to be so huge, but it just ended up being the best blog that I ever wrote. Basically, I just compared all the gyms that you could go to. The goal for me when I wrote it was actually to kind of like poo-poo the other types of gyms and promote mine, right? Because I had this chart on there that was like, highlighted the type of gym that we have, the small group training gym. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably have a small group training gym. But yeah, it was like an awesome blog, and I didn't even know when I wrote it. But once you have the data and you have somebody that can manage it and look at that kind of stuff, you can see what the best way to go is. So is there a certain length of blog that you want, or a certain way that you want to write it, as some way to test if it's actually working?
It used to be like 1,800 words was the go-to blog post length. That's kind of changed now. You can rank even better with 10,000 words in your blog now. It kind of depends on how helpful the content is and your competitors. So if you have a higher domain authority than your competitors and you're writing about the same topic, you can have a shorter blog article than them with less keywords and still rank higher. And that's why it's so important to keep these blog posts updated. So your 7 different types of gyms blog post, a lot of people make the mistake of not wanting to touch that blog article. You really do want to keep it updated once a month. And then you want to focus a lot of the content you build thereafter back to that blog article. So what I would say is, for a content strategy for you is to build out a blog post about each of those 7 types of gyms and backlink to that article, so people have somewhere to go on your website one more time after they get to that 7 different types of gym post.
Well, it's good for me. I'm glad we had you on the podcast because I'm learning. So
Yeah, I'm on your website right now, Jimmy, and it looks like you have 2 of the same. Well, not the same, but 2 of them. It says the 6 types of gyms, and then you have another one that says the 5 different types of gyms. So one looks like, one was written in 2017 and the other one was written in 2019. I can't find the 7 one. I don't know if it's maybe not 7, but I'm just looking for it.
It's either 5 or 6. Yeah.
Maybe it was 5. I had that wrong.
I wrote one of them,
Yeah.
and then one of my staff wrote one of them as well. But yeah, I realized we had 2 on there. One of them works better than the other one. I don't remember which one it is.
Yeah, but just to kind of piggyback on that too. So now I know another thing to help boost SEO is YouTube. So now if Jimmy made a YouTube video on that same topic, that would really boost his SEO, especially if he incorporated that video into that blog post. I could be wrong.
so
I'm asking the website guy.
Definitely. So actually, people usually do it the other way around. People usually build out the YouTube video and then just transcribe the video into a blog post. So you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But absolutely, linking people from a YouTube video to the blog and from the blog to a YouTube video, it's just the traffic is just can double itself almost. So it's a great idea. We actually, for a company called Zodiac Outfit, they have a YouTube channel, and they do shorts and full-length videos on just funny zodiac signs from TikTok. and then they link back to their website from those videos. When it's, something about Taurus, they can link to a product or a blog post about that. So that's definitely beneficial.
All right, cool. That's good. I mean, I think one of the things with, gym owners, they think a blog post. Guys, with these things, like I'm looking at Jimmy's article, and like he said, this is his number one content that people look at on his website, and it's helping him boost up in his thing. He's got one comment. This thing has been out since 2017. So I wouldn't write this. I would write it. I wouldn't go crazy writing it in a sense like, oh my God, everyone's going to read it. Everyone's going to look at it. Definitely take some time in putting this out there, but I would just say, get it out there. And like Sam said, just edit it over time, adjust, add to it, take away from it, figure out different words that you want to use and then go back in, but don't try to make it perfect right off the bat. The one thing that I don't want for you guys is to listen to this and then get paralyzed by analysis. Like, what am I going to write about? How am I going to just do something? Because any article on your site, I mean, Sam, you could correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably better than nothing.
So it goes both ways. So if you're someone like Moz, and they're one of the kings in SEO, they had so many articles that actually getting rid of about 35% of their articles gained them about 35% more traffic. So if you have a ton of dead in the water, no one goes to them blog articles, you do want to scrap some of those and turn them into a much larger, more authoritative blog post. So let's say, for Jimmy, one of his top performing blog posts, he takes, the bottom 5 blog posts that are fairly related in content, groups them into one and republishes that blog post to clean up his content. You don't really want 1,000 blog articles on your website that don't drive any traffic.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, I want to shift away from kind of this for a second, because like Jimmy mentioned earlier in this, a lot of guys out there will use, Wix or Weebly or Square, whatever the other ones are nowadays. So if someone's actually hosting their website on there, Sam, right now, what are the things that they can do to optimize those to get higher in the search ranking and to ultimately get more leads?
Yeah, so if you're on something like Squarespace, the number one thing I've seen is optimizing your images. So turn every image that you upload into a WebP. That's called a WebP format. You probably have things like JPEG or PNGs, and they just take a ton more bandwidth to get through. And you can use something called freeconvert.com, totally free. Just drag and drop your images in there, set it to WebP and hit download and convert. So it's very simple, but some people have like a megabyte sized image on their website, and on mobile, that's going to cost you, a half second to load. So very important.
That's a great tip. Jimmy, you have anything else you want to ask him?
No, I just got some work to do now after this podcast. I gotta get a little more. I mean, we rank pretty well, so no, not much else. I mean, it's when we're looking at gym owners and we're looking at, you guys don't have necessarily huge budgets, right? And you don't have these like Sam was saying, you're not making $10 million. You're not you don't have the bandwidth to be able to fund something where you have, crazy, ridiculous website stuff, but you don't need to because you're local, right? You have a certain demographic, but it can be very valuable to have somebody in your corner that knows more about this than you do. Even on this podcast right now, Anthony and I both have pretty successful gyms. And Sam is an expert in his field. So he's telling us stuff that we're taking notes on right now. We're going to use for our website. I'll probably get on a call with Sam and figure out exactly what we want to do with mine and get that a little more in play there. But guys, if you're looking for the fastest way to get qualified leads into your business at minimal cost to you, get your website rebuilt, find somebody that can help you do that. If you want to learn more about what Sam does and what his company does and how he does it, where can they find you, Sam? Where can they get some more information about what you do for website optimization for local gyms like myself?
Yeah, we're totally revamping our website actually at the moment as well, but at odins3.com, just ODINS number 3.com. And another thing is just going to pages on YouTube like Neil Patel. You'd be surprised at just all the little tips he gives out totally for free that can drastically affect the amount of traffic you're getting to your website.
All right, Sam. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on. And really quick, I'm going to tell you guys my takeaways because I have a page of notes here too. Definitely changing all the format pictures on my website to that WebP version because that's obviously the fastest way. And it's funny because I used to condense the pictures down so they don't take up a lot of space, but I'm definitely going to convert all those to that. And just updating my blog posts and kind of going through them and figuring out because I have a lot of content. So just going through and kind of making some more content that pushes things more out there. So, and Sam, just a quick offshoot of what I just said. How would I find out which blog post ranks the best? Like, how, or someone listening to this, if they have a blog, how do they know? How would they find out?
You can generally just go based on traffic. If you really want to get into the nitty gritty, there's tools called Ahrefs, and that's ahrefs.com. And if you subscribe to it, you can see all of your competitors' blog rankings, any ads they run, and all of your traffic and keywords you're ranking for on your blog articles. So using a SEO tool, I know Neil Patel also gives some, but is the most effective way to see which blog articles to focus on. But if you don't have that, just use something like Google Analytics. Just check out which blog article is getting the most traffic to it, and then you can go from there. You can obviously go into even more detail and see, okay, they go from this blog article to this blog article, or they came to your website from these keywords, and you can narrow down the focus. But yeah, just basically traffic.
Awesome, Sam. Thank you again, buddy, for coming on. So guys, Anthony, Jimmy, and Sam, Fitness Profit Multiplier, and we are out.